Let's in fact take a look at the observations that were made by the Supreme Court in this case. And then we'll speak to our guests on the discussion as well. So what were the Supreme Court's big observations on the use of pellet guns? Firstly, the court said it is not inclined to impose a blanket ban on pellet guns. That was a big observation made by the court in the hearing of this case. The court also observed that pellet guns are part of a graded police response mechanism that cannot be avoided altogether in extreme circumstances. The court has also said that pellet gun rules must be challenged before seeking a ban. So, a separate challenge must be made on the use of pellet guns before a ban is put altogether. Number 4, the court said we will examine if metallic pellets were used excessively. So, now that is under subject to investigation. Number 5, the court also asked to preserve all relevant RAF records for a fair investigation to take place. Number 6, police also should manage peaceful student protests without pellet guns. That also was a key observation of the Supreme Court, that these are protesting students and you cannot really use pellet guns on the protesting students. Number 7, police action must remain within the bounds of established protocols is what the court said in its direction to the police forces. And then moving ahead, in another observation that the court said, it obviously said that directions should be issued to all parties included, whether protesting students or the police officers deployed to maintain law and order situation. Let's now go across to former DCP Delhi Police, Mr. L.N. Rao now joins us. Mr. Rao, very good afternoon. Thank you very much for speaking to us on this. I want you to help us understand what is the usual protocol in such protesting situations for the police if the crowd gets unruly.
Good afternoon, Kitty. Usual protocol in the police in such circumstances when the riot is to be controlled. Once the police officers who are at the spot, they see that the crowd is unruly and that is unlawful assembly is declared by the police officer present at the spot. Number 1, he has to announce that that assembly of people is unlawful. They should disperse. That will be a warning to those people. If they don't even disperse, then they use some minor tear gas cells to scatter them. And if they do not scatter from that place and they remain violent at that time, then the water cannon are to be used. That is the third protocol. And after that, if it is still they are adamant not to disperse and they are still going on violent, then only the mild lathi charge is required, and that too is ordered by the senior most officer present at the spot. That is the usual protocol, and if even minor lathi charge is not viable to disperse them like that, in that situation, that use of gun, maybe pellet gun or maybe some other in the air, just to scatter them, just to make them afraid. That is to be used. This is the normal protocol, but I appreciate the order of this today's order as it is stated by the Honorable Supreme Court that the blanket ban on the pellet guns cannot be allowed. That if it is blanket ban on these pellet guns, why these have been provided to the RAF or to any police force? That is, if these are provided, that is for a purpose. You know, if we go behind 2-3 years, then there was initially when the pellet guns were used in Kashmir, unruly people used to throw stones on the army and the police officers. In that case, the pellet guns were allowed to be used. So the Honorable Supreme Court has rightly said that in extreme situation, definitely, the situation should be extreme, which I have explained like that, step by step. If the violators and the rioters are so adamant and they are destroying the public property, injuring the police at the spot, then definitely the use of this type of force is allowed in this situation. Kriti.
All right, I request you to stay on with us. We are now going to take a look at what are the general norms of pellet guns in India, and for that again I'll go across to my plasma screen here. So firstly, these are the rules that we have listed for you. What's the classification? Pellet shotguns, 20 bore, fire hundreds of small metal or plastic pellets per shot. So this is how they are classified. They're classified as less lethal crowd control devices rather than standard firearms. Definitely not standard firearms here. And then these are governed by section 148 of the Bharatiya Nagrik Suraksha Sanhita 2023. This is a statutory framework that I am telling you. It obligates police to use minimal proportionate force to disperse unlawful assemblies. Further, under Union Ministry of Home Affairs guidelines, security forces must follow a strictly graded hierarchy in its response to such situations. Now, what's the SOP, the standard operating procedure in such cases, like we were discussing with Mr. Ellen Rao? First comes as a last resort, okay? Firstly is the use of water cannons, then tear gas if the situation escalates, then you go for chili shells or pava shells they are called, and pellet guns, if you see here, is the last resort. So that's the standard operating procedure. The very last resort to manage an unruly crowd by the police should be the use of pellet guns. I want to come back to you, Mr. Rao, if you can still hear me clearly. The case that we are looking at, the protests at Jantar Mantar, would you classify that particular scenario as necessitating the use of pellet guns?
As you might have seen in the so many videos that police officers have been beaten very badly. They have sustained so many injuries. More than 250 police officers, maybe 300 police officers were injured in this situation, and the property, public property, vehicles were damaged by the Reuters. And who did all these illegal activities, they are not the students, I think so, because some bad elements had entered into the peaceful protest of the students. That is considered like this. So that was the last resort when any use of force was used. That was for the requirement, because the police is there to maintain law and order. This is prime duty of the police. They cannot see the spectators like that everything is being done, they are being beaten, the public is also damaging these Reuters are damaging the public property, and the police becomes a silent spectator like that. It cannot be allowed. As per law, what is provided in the SOP, as you rightly said, that standard operative procedures are to be followed to control the crowd like this. So in this situation, in this scenario, the police, whatever action has been taken by the police, it is justified, and when their inquiry will be conducted in that case, that definitely the police will find a very safe place, that they have, whatever they have done in the discharge of their official duties. And I don't think that there any atrocities was done. And no doubt in such situation, when something is to be used as to control this like situation, some minor atrocities may occur. That is because the police officers also they are also human beings. The rule book cannot be studied at the spot when such a situation is there. We cannot to page of the rule book and all these things. But some sort of atrocities may happen, but that is bona fide, because the police has to do their duties in bona fide conditions, and that bona fide mistake, if there is any, I will emphasize again, if there is any bona fide mistake, that is pardonable under the law. So I don't think that police was at wrong while controlling this such unruly crowd at the Jantar Mantar and near the Parliament.
All right.
Because,
sure, Mr. Rao, thank you very much for speaking to us and helping us understand the details of